Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review. Morning briefing for Monday, the 19th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined, as ever, by Jonny McFarlane. Jonny, how are we doing? Did you enjoy your weekend?
Absolutely terrific. Enjoyed watching Rangers against Arsenal and certainly had a nice relaxing time the rest of the weekend. So, yeah, it was terrific.
It's been absolutely Scotchial where I am at the moment in terms of the heat. The fan was on full blast last night. I tell you, it's been uncomfortable.
You won't believe it. It's the same in Glasgow.
Yeah, it's been Scotchial. Looking back at the news over the weekend, then Jonny, let's start first off with the game against Arsenal on Saturday afternoon. It was a real test in every sense of the word against Premier League opposition. A real step up in class, wasn't it, from Partick Thistle and Tranmere Rovers? It showed at times, but they put on a good showing. 2-2. The match ended, of course, scoreline not really important at this stage of the season. What was your overall view of the game and what we can take from it?
Yeah, I think the game has to be put in context, Eric, because Arsenal are a terrific team. You just have to look at last season against Prague. Rangers, I think, had a pretty close game, ultimately turned on a couple of incidents in the game, but there wasn't much between them. Prague, I think, lost 4-0 in the second leg against Arsenal. They literally took them apart. Full of international stars, big money being spent on the players. You look at Ben White's just arrived or in the process of arriving for 50 million quid. So Arsenal are on another level to anything that Rangers are going to be playing in the Scottish Premier League. Scottish Premiership, and certainly on a level to most of the teams that Rangers will be playing in Europe up until the point that they get into the Champions League. So I think it was a really, really good workout for the team because mostly it was a game about defensive shape, and they showed that they're a threat because they were able to score against Arsenal twice, and of course Stephen Kelly had an incredible chance to make it 3-1 and put the game really beyond the Gunners later on in the sort of second half. Ultimately, Rangers proved that they are a threat, although Arsenal did control the game. And Arsenal themselves, Derek, some incredible misses, frankly, throughout the game. I mean, it was one of those strange games. It could have been 6-3 or 5-3, or it could have been anything, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Some interesting takeouts from the game on Saturday. I mean, Leon Balogun, of course, scored his first goal for the club. Cedric Itten popped up with another 2 in 3 games. The manager spoke afterwards with regards to Cedric Itten, Jonny, and it looks like he's came back hungry and with a good attitude in pre-season. And can we expect bigger things from him? I know we touched on this on Friday, but there certainly seems to be a lot of noise around Cedric Itten at the moment.
Yeah, I think Itten is a player who can give quite a bit to Rangers because he offers something different. I mean, Morelos is a guy that gives you a bit of everything in terms of pace, power, running in behind. He can hold up the ball. He can run the channels. Itten's a little bit more limited than Morelos because he's more of a target man. But he's also not a slouch. He's a good finisher. And he proved that once again that he's got an eye for goal. I mean, he only got 6 last season, but he didn't have a lot of opportunities. And I think it was a great header and showed that he can offer something, especially with the fullbacks Rangers have, the quality of ball that's going to be going into the box. You've got somebody tall and athletic who can get up and meet a header. They're going to get chances and they're probably going to get goals. So what did you make of him?
I was impressed by him, to be honest. I think he's got a big part to play next season. It's a big season for him. I think Gerrard spoke afterwards, and quite understandable, saying that it was a tough year for him. He was coming in to a different country. He was living in an apartment on his own. He couldn't really go out and see friends or family as such. So it was always going to be difficult for him. But he came in and played his part during that successful year last year. I think we're going to see a lot more of him in the next campaign. I'm really looking forward to seeing them in action. So some of the other takeouts, I mean, the Tav Patterson sort of combination, we've seen that for a little spell. And very interesting again from the manager afterwards, saying that it's something that he's going to certainly look at. He says that they're they're two good players to leave one on the bench. I thought that was really telling, Jonny. I think this is quite exciting for me to see how they try and incorporate both players in that starting 11.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating, and for anyone who wants a detailed breakdown of how this might work, Joshua Barry has done a really interesting two-part piece looking at how Rangers might accommodate the two of them. And I think Gerrard talked about it being a 4-1-4-1 with Patterson at right back and Tavernier potentially in front, but trying to keep Tavernier in a position in positions that he would normally be comfortable in, given his entire career. So I think Gerrard was effectively saying that he wouldn't be playing in that 10 position that he turned up in at the weekend. He's not probably naturally a back-to-goal type creator. And I think Steven Gerrard admitted as much after the game. But I think it's going to be fascinating because Rangers do need to add a different string to their bow because, again, Gerrard said this at the weekend, you can't just stick with the same formation because clubs will work you out, especially in Scotland where it is about destroying. It's not necessarily about creating a lot of the time when you're playing against Rangers because teams have got nowhere near as good a squad and nowhere near the budget. So they're looking to try and get the maximum what they can, and often that's to play for a draw or to snatch a victory through luck. And we've seen that happen often. So Rangers need to try different things to break teams down as teams become more used to this 4-3-2-1 formation that Rangers have been playing, or the 4-3-3, depending on how it's set up and with the individuals within it. And I like the idea of switching to 3 at the back with a Tavernier as a right-sided central defender, because he's got a very, very similar skill set, albeit at a lower level, to someone like Kyle Walker. And we saw how effective Walker was in that position for England at the Euros. It gives you real pace at the back. And how many times did Kyle Walker step in and save Harry Maguire and John Stones with just a burst of pace? It happened a lot, and it bailed England into trouble many times. I think that's something that on the break that could really help Rangers. But I don't think it'll be every week we're going to play with 3 at the back. I think it'll be horses for courses. But I think they're right. Look, Nathan Patterson to me is a generational talent, and I'm saying that after only whatever it was last season. I think it was 9 games that he started. But it's just so obvious, having watched him come through the youth ranks and now in the first team, that this kid really is going to have a terrific future. And Rangers can't stunt his growth by not using him. So I'm fully on board with any developments that allow the two of them to be in the same team.
Yeah. On the other flank, one player that impressed on Saturday was Calvin Bassey, especially first half. I think he tired a little bit in the second period before he was replaced. But going forward, his marauding runs were really exciting. I mean, he was taken down a couple of times and he put in a vital goal line clearance as well. I like the look of this boy. I think he's pushing Borna, by the way, Jonny, for a starting spot.
Steady there. I don't quite think that's going to be the case. But listen, I thought that was like a coming of age performance because it was against such a good team, and he looked like he'd moved on so much from his performances last season, where he showed promise, but he looked like a bit of a rough diamond, someone that needed a lot of work on the training ground. I thought he looked a lot more confident in the position. He's got that incredible physique and power. Again, I saw Bassey for the first time playing for Leicester against Rangers in a youth game. I think it was 2017, and he was a standout there, primarily because of his physique. I mean, he's an enormous man-mountain, and to have that running at you with that physique, that player, it would be. It's not something defenders are going to want to see because he's pacey and he's quite skillful as well. But I thought he defended well. He's a great block. Somehow keeping that ball out. I don't know how he managed it. Obviously, it was a poor finish by the Arsenal player, but he still got there. And I thought overall he was absolutely terrific. And you mentioned the run in the first half, which was really exciting. Bombing forward, so powerful. And you have to say, I think is it Mari, the defender that comes in, I think it's a Brazilian centre-half.
Yeah.
That was a brutal challenge for a friendly game. I mean, that was pushing a red card, frankly. It was wild. And it was a little bit of a worry, actually, that Bassi might have to go off at that point. But again, it's that physicality and power that he has, just shrugged it off and continued. Other players might have had to go off. Yeah.
Worrying news afterwards, but we heard that one player we've not seen just yet, Jonny, is Nnamdi Offabor. Steven Gerrard mentioned in his post-match interview that an ECG has brought up a sort of heart issue that he needs to get checked out by a specialist. So we won't be seeing him in the short term anyway. It's worrying news for the young lad. I mean, big things expected. I spoke to a number of guys close to him, ex-players and what have you. They say he's Premier League quality. That's how far I think they can go in the game. Just hope he can get his health sorted first day before he takes to the football field again.
Yeah, it's kind of an obvious one to say, but I mean, football's irrelevant when you've got that kind of thing come up in your life if it's a health issue like that. And for the player, it's just a case of ensuring first and foremost that he is he's fit and well, and that's the most important thing. I think we all saw at the Euros with the incident with Christian Eriksen just how serious you have to take these kind of issues, and we've seen examples throughout the last 10 or 20 years of players having issues with their heart. So it's just something that Rangers are going to have to wait and see with, I presume, and you'll get the best care. You know that Rangers will make sure that he's got the absolute leading people looking at him and making sure that they can get him back to the club in the best physical condition they possibly can. And obviously, everyone at the Rangers Review just got his fingers crossed for him and wishes him well, and hopefully he can get back as soon as possible. Because, as you say, even a cursory look at the player, you can tell he's got a lot of qualities, and although he's one of these players, I think you would probably classify as a development player for Rangers, who can be brought into becoming a real first team star in the next couple of years. He certainly has qualities that makes you go, this is the guy that can really make an impact over the next period of time.
Yeah, but wish you all the best, Nnamdi. Get well soon, buddy. Let's look then. There's big news happening this lunchtime, Jonny. Rangers, of course, not in Europa League qualifying this season. They're in the Champions League qualifying, and we'll find out possible opponents in the third qualifying draw. Of course, they've got two qualifying rounds, both this, and if they progress after this one, it'll be the playoff round to get into the lucrative Champions League. I'll just give you a rundown of possible opponents they could face. Ludogorets of Bulgaria or Mura of Slovenia. Hopefully I'll pronounce that correctly. Malmo of Sweden or HJK Helsinki. Cluj, of course, we know all about them. Or Lincoln Red Imps. Legia Warsaw or Flora of Estonia. Sheriff of Moldova or Alashkert of Armenia. Ferencvaros, of course, Celtic know all about them from last season, or Zalgiris of Lithuania. I think we play the winners of any of those ties, Jonny. Of those names, you certainly think that there would be winnable ties. Of course, difficult opposition regardless, but exciting to see who Rangers will face, and it really is starting to become real, isn't it? This Champions League route that we're hoping to go down.
Yeah, absolutely is. And there's absolutely no one in that list that Rangers wouldn't be the favourites in a tie with. But that's not to say there aren't difficult potential ties in there. So, I think that ultimately this is a team that went up against Galatasaray and, didn't blink. So these names are not ones that I think will cause too many problems for Rangers going forward. However, they'll have to be at their best. They'll have to be physically ready. They'll have to be mentally ready and continue to show the kind of diligence tactically over two legs that they've shown throughout Steven Gerrard's tenure as Rangers manager. I mean, that's the one thing that we've seen. While it took a little bit of time to get Rangers into a position where they were looking like that machine that they looked like last season in domestic games, I think from almost the off in Europe, Rangers have looked really, really tidy, really, really organised, and absolutely on it tactically under the Gerrard's regime. So there's nothing to fear from ties like this, and Rangers have come through these before, and ultimately it's just a case of continuing to show the same level of professionalism and mentality that they've shown for the last 3 years, and there's no reason to doubt that will be the case going forward. So I would be absolutely confident that they can go through, provided they just continue what we've already seen. And there are difficult games in there, of course there are, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we've got a comment here. I think that the grouping's been split into 2, so Rangers will only play the winners of 3 ties. So it'll be interesting to see who we face. But like you say, it's really exciting. I know we've spoke about the journey, and the journey was getting back to the top of Scottish football. But this is the icing on the cake, isn't it? To hear that Champions League music at Ibrox blaring out once again. I think, when was it last time? I think it was Walter's team when they played the likes of, was it Man United and was it Bursaspor and all that sort of stuff. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, you put me on the spot to remember the exact one, but I think it was that season. But that'll really signal, I think, when you hear that Champions League music, that'll really signal the club being right back amongst Europe's elite, where it deserves to be and where it wants to be. And I think that'll be an emotional moment for a lot of fans, knowing that, this is the stamping ground where, growing up, a lot of us watched Rangers play. Many of us will remember back to the first ever Champions League, and Rangers were a part of that, and not just a part of it, an integral part of it, and we're incredibly unlucky not to get to the final against AC Milan. And listen, let's not get into the whole Marseille thing and what they were up to, because we could be here for a while lamenting what went on that season. But that was a formative memory back in the early 90s, and for many of us, and it's always been an important part of following Rangers, is keeping an eye on how they do in Europe, and the Champions League is the place that a club of this stature and size needs to be. And it would be just amazing for Rangers to get back into that group stage, wouldn't it? I mean, just be incredible going back up against these big teams. And what a test it would be for Steven Gerrard, because, and I've already talked about it, Derek, I've already talked about this idea of they've never let anyone down. They've always been really good in Europe through the whole time that Steven Gerrard's been in charge. But this would be the next move up. And it would be really interesting to see, as a part of Gerrard's development as a manager, and the way that he's developing this squad, how ready they are for that kind of jump, and that'd be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely will. Okay, we'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for tuning in as ever. We've got some great content coming on the way on Rangers Review. There's a terrific article from Craig Vickers on the website, so do check that out and keep up to date with our socials on the Facebook and Twitter and Instagram pages as well. We'll be back tomorrow. Jonny, thanks very much for joining us as ever.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys, and speak to you tomorrow.